This Ayanokoji thinking protocol got me to 2500 ELO. Reaching 2500 has nothing to do with calculating deeper or knowing more openings than your opponent. Most players grinding toward that rating are already doing the hard work, the tactics, the endgame theory, the opening prep, and the rating still doesn't move. That's not a knowledge problem. That's a thinking problem. Specifically, it's the absence of one thinking protocol that grandmasters run on every single move, that almost nobody below 2200 applies consistently, and that Ayanokoji uses so precisely it looks like he can see 3 conversations ahead of everyone in the room. I've been running this deliberately for the past several months. It's the single biggest reason my rating jumped. I'm going to break it into 3 layers, and you need to stay through all 3. Because the 3rd layer is the one most players don't just ignore, they actively do the opposite of it. And it's costing them games they should already be winning. Here's the core idea first, so you know exactly what we're building toward. The protocol is called prophylaxis. Prophylaxis is seeing what your opponent wants to do and stopping it ahead of time. That's the simple version. But the way grandmasters actually use it goes 3 layers deep, and each layer is doing something completely different. By the end of this video, you'll have a concrete thinking process you can run on every single move, not just a vague think about your opponent reminder. I've done the research, mapped this onto real grandmaster psychology, and I'm going to give you the version that actually transfers to your games. Let's get into it. The second strongest point first, because this one earns trust fast. Most players, when they hear prophylaxis, think it means defense. Stop the attack, block the threat, react. That framing is wrong, and it's why most people never get the real benefit out of it. Prophylaxis is about making moves that prevent your opponent's ideas and limit their plans before they come to fruition. And while it sounds defensive, mastering it is essential for maintaining control and dictating the pace of the game. You're not reacting. You're deciding what the game looks like before your opponent even gets a say. Here's where the real framework lives. There are actually 3 distinct levels of prophylactic thinking, and most players only ever operate on one of them. The first level is restriction. You simply don't let your opponent do what they want. You close the door before they walk through it. The second level is what you might call true prophylaxis. You let them try, but you've already blunted the impact so badly that their plan does nothing. And the third level is the one that sounds almost offensive: provocation. You actually force your opponent into moves they don't want to make. You manufacture their mistake before they even know they're making one. That third level is Ayanokoji's entire personality. Think about the Ryuuen arc. He doesn't block Ryuuen head-on. He lets Ryuuen commit, lets him feel like he's winning, and then the impact of that win lands on nothing because the outcome was already arranged. On the board, this looks like leaving a pawn undefended on purpose. Prophylaxis is the strategy of preventing your opponent's plans before they become dangerous, by asking on every move what your opponent wants to do and taking that possibility away. But at the highest level, you're not just taking possibilities away. You're replacing them with traps they chose to walk into themselves. A grandmaster might deliberately leave a pawn undefended, hoping the opponent greedily captures it, only for that capture to trigger a devastating counterattack. That's bait disguised as an opportunity. Your opponent thinks they found something. They didn't. You left it there for them. And the reason this works psychologically is because people trust their own discoveries more than anything. You directly show them. When they find the pawn, they feel smart. That feeling is exactly what makes the trap land. So the practical application here: before you make your next move, ask yourself, what does my opponent most want to do? Then ask a second question that most players never ask. Can I let them try it and still be fine? Because sometimes the answer is yes, and saying yes sets you up for something much bigger than just blocking them. Now here's the part I told you to stay for, and we're about halfway there, so keep going because this one reframes everything. Petrosian was a conservative, cautious, and highly defensive chess player who was strongly influenced by Aaron Nimzowicz's idea of prophylaxis, and he made more effort to prevent his opponent's offensive capabilities than he did to make use of his own. He was the 9th world chess champion, and here is what people always get wrong about him. They call him passive. They call him boring. They say he just defended and waited. Petrosian's playing style was defensive, prophylactic, and positionally ambitious. He did not merely wait. He removed danger, improved piece placement, and then struck when the opponent had no clean reply. That's not passive. That's the most controlled form of aggression that exists in chess. Tal remarked that Petrosian sometimes found ideas for his opponents that never even entered their heads. Fischer said he could see and eliminate danger 20 moves before it arose. That's not defense. That's total information dominance. And there is a documented psychological effect that happens when you play this way consistently. When your opponent's ideas are repeatedly and consistently prevented, it doesn't just affect the position on the board, it erodes their confidence move by move. They start second-guessing their plans. They start feeling like the game is slipping even when the material is equal. His style aimed to remove counterplay before it appeared, which made opponents feel they were attacking a wall rather than a person. That's the psychological wearing down that Ayanokoji does to every single rival. It's not one decisive moment. It's accumulated pressure until the opponent defeats themselves. Now, here's the strongest point, the one almost nobody applies correctly, and the one that I think is responsible for more lost games at the 1800 to 2200 range than any tactical blunder ever is. Your mental mode should shift based on whether you're winning or losing, and most players have it completely backwards. When you're winning, you feel comfortable. You feel like the hard work is done, so you go on autopilot. You play fast, you trust your instincts, you stop looking as hard. And that is exactly when your opponent is the most dangerous, because they're in a losing position, and they're calculating harder than they've calculated all game. Research going back to de Groot's foundational cognitive studies shows that prophylaxis is the least glamorous skill in chess and, in the experience of coaches, the one that separates players who plateau from players who keep improving. Most club players lose not because they miss their own chances, but because they never ask what the other side is up to. So when you're ahead, that's when you need to be most vigilant. That's when you run the prophylactic check hardest. What is my opponent's only hope right now? What are they desperately trying to set up? And then you take it away, cleanly, without overcomplicating. When you're losing, that's when you need to complicate the position. Introduce chaos. Create problems your opponent has to solve under pressure. Because pressure causes even strong players to err. This maps directly onto what separates grandmaster thinking from amateur thinking. Prophylaxis is the strategy of preventing your opponent's plans before they become dangerous. And it is the one skill that separates players who plateau from players who keep improving. What looks like genius intuition at the grandmaster level is actually a trained habit. The tendency to be casual while thinking about your opponent's ideas must be eliminated, and this is also the key to developing your sense of danger. You must do it all the time so that it becomes part of your nature. Every move, not just when you feel threatened, every single move. Here's the protocol, condensed into something you can actually run at the board. Before you decide on your move, ask 3 questions in order. 1. What does my opponent most want to do right now? 2. Can I prevent it while also improving my position? Or do I need to just stop it? 3. Is there a version where I let them try it and it backfires on them? If you run those 3 questions every move, you are doing what Petrosian did. You're doing what Ayanokoji does in every scene. You are playing the game one level above everyone else at the table. And here's what changed from the beginning of this video. We started with the idea that reaching 2500 is about calculating more. It's not. The moves that prevent your opponent's ideas and limit their plans before they come to fruition are the ones that give you control. And while prophylaxis sounds defensive, it's what actually dictates the pace of the game. You're not reacting to what your opponent does. Drop a comment and tell me what level you're at right now and where you're trying to get to. I read every single one. The video on how Ayanokoji reads people is right there. It maps this same framework onto social situations, and it's one of the most watched things on the channel for a reason. Subscribe if you're not already, because the next video in this series goes somewhere most chess content never touches. You don't want to miss it.